Today we're going to be doing a video discussing the bottom 3 teams in the Western Conference. I already did a video, it should be popping up on the screen right now, discussing the Eastern Conference, so I'm not going to hold you guys too much longer. We're going to get straight into this, starting with number 13, the Portland Trail Blazers. The Blazers are probably in the weirdest situation out of the 3 of these teams we'll be discussing today, simply because they're the 13 seed, mostly due to the fact that they have a superstar talent like Damian Lillard, who spent the better half of last season recovering from an ab injury. Having said this, that doesn't mean they would have been much higher in the standings. The Blazers' mediocrity was pretty consistent throughout the early 2010s and even into the start of the 2020s. However, I actually like their roster right now. New additions like Jeremy Grant and Gary Payton II help fill out the scoring and wing and defensive talent they needed. They have young guys like Anthony Simons, who, if you haven't bought stock in, I recommend you do now, as well as Nasir Little, who have growing to do, but someone like Nasir Little has shown tremendous upside, just like Simons. They also have decent role players in Justice Winslow, Josh Hart, and Yusuf Nurkic. I just don't really know how big of a fan I am when you put it all together. I guess I have to just see it play out, but I don't know. It just feels too similar to the undersized backcourts we've seen in the past, like Dame and CJ. It just seems like the Blazers have been there and done that. I could be wrong, but I was just kind of hoping they'd trade Dame and just fully rebuild and commit to a rebuild. The West is super tough right now, and you just have to ask yourself, does Dame and the additions of Grant and Gary Payton make you contenders? I don't think so. What's next for them is just to play the season out and see how it goes. There's not much change eligible to be made until December 15th, when the players are able to be traded after signing a new contract in the offseason. Until then, just lace it up and see what happens. At the number 14 seed, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma City is definitely in their rebuilding phase. Sam Presti has been scalping more first rounders than there seemingly is players in the league at this rate, and I really don't know how I feel about it. This is primarily because of the value of a first round pick and how it changes every year. A few years back, I remember the Rockets thought of trading for Jimmy Butler while they had Chris Paul and James Harden. Jimmy's value while on the Timberwolves was a lot less than what it is now on the Miami Heat, and he was still worth 3 to 4 first round picks back then. Nowadays, you see trades like the one we saw involving Rudy Gobert involve 5 first rounders, and you hear nonstop talks about talents like Kevin Durant yielding and bringing in up to 6 to 7 first rounders. So it's really hard to put a finger on how I feel about the, overhaul of draft capital they have. But for now, the Thunder just drafted Chet Holmgren, who I've yet to form a full opinion on. Usually with rookies, especially ones that have a lot of talent but need to grow, I like to give them time. I'm as patient as I am alive when it comes to draft prospects, so there's no point in me putting expectations on someone who clearly needs to grow into their body. I mean, look, here's a photo of Chet next to one of rookie Giannis. I'm not saying Chet is going to turn out exactly how Giannis looks now, but what if everyone put unfair expectations on Giannis initially to start his career? Just because Chet was drafted 14 spots higher doesn't mean he's going to grow any faster. These are humans we're talking about. This isn't a 2K sim or a rebuild, but shout out Kenny though, for real. Regardless if Chet comes in with no impact or comes in averaging 30, I like the Thunder. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is one of the most fun guards to watch right now. His jump shot isn't the prettiest, but boy does it go in. They also just extended Lou Dort, who I really enjoy watching, so shout out to Lou for getting his bag, and shout out OKC for keeping a great 3-and-D talent. The talent doesn't stop there though. The Thunder have loads of notable other young talents like Alex Pokusevski, Josh Giddey, Darius Bazley, Trey Mann, and many more. I don't predict much of a jump this year in the standing for Oklahoma City, but it will definitely be exciting to watch everyone develop more and try to see where Chet fits in all of this. What's next for the Thunder is to just develop their young talent and possibly pull the trigger on acquiring a superstar talent if there is and it feels right. Like I mentioned in the beginning, the Thunder have a ton of draft capital and they have a lot of young talent they can pair it with. I hope they choose to keep their squad intact, and if they do, I really hope we see a positive bench unit forming and a positive atmosphere forming, kind of like that 2018 Nets vibe. It's best for these young teams to build each other up and not break each other down. Coming in at the number 15 seed, last but not least, we have the Houston Rockets. How the mighty have fallen. It's honestly a motif how I say that, because I referenced it earlier in the video talking about Chris Paul and James Harden, but it just seems like yesterday I was watching the Rockets win 60 plus games and try to take down the four-headed monster of the death lineup of the Kevin Durant-led Warriors. And now, as the Rockets sit at the 15th seed, I can only note that there's teams in worse conditions somehow. I know it sounds ridiculous, but hear me out. The Rockets have two of the most polarizing young talents in the league in Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. Both of these players have had their fair bits of drama off the court mixed with some on-court antics. NBA fans are usually super hypercritical of young guys of their caliber, but it's a good thing. It shows how frustrated people are / would be if they weren't living up to their talents. I really like Kevin's game in particular, especially since he's a lefty. Him and Jalen are both so quick and can get to their spots easy. I just hope they can develop at least one of them a more pass first game. You see little bits and pieces of that with Jalen Green, not so much Kevin. He's more of a relentless scorer type. The only issue I see is sometimes you see this a lot in young guards. They just do too much. To an extent, obviously a guard or whoever is primarily handling the ball can always be doing too much, but there's definitely a difference between dribbling with a purpose and dribbling with panic. Again, though, I don't want to be too hypercritical early towards these young guys, especially not ones as athletically gifted as these two. Garrison Matthews and Alperen Şengün are also two other young names on the Rockets I'd like to talk about before wrapping this up. Garrison is a serious sharpshooter and can pair very well alongside either two of these guards. They could honestly even try running KPJ at the 3 and sliding Garrison in at the 2 position to allow for a faster and more spaced environment. It's not like the Rockets are unfamiliar with the small ball lineup, but I don't know. I think this next season they're going to be trying a ton of different lineups. I'm really interested to see how Coach Silas handles this whole thing. As for Şengün, the potential is only seen if you watch the Rockets. That's as simple as I can put it. He doesn't get much more than 20 minutes a game at most. He definitely has Jokic-like tendencies from time to time, and you love to see that out of your young big. Things like looking to make the correct pass to a cutter, boxing out, and taking high percentage shots are all good things, and that's all about the potential we see in Şengün. As for what's next for the Rockets, just like the Thunder, they just kind of got to roll the ball out and lace them up this year just because of how young they are, and they have such a wide spread of talent through the guard position. They're going to have to tinker and kind of work through the motions of seeing, okay, is Jalen Green going to lead our offense? Are we going to maybe run it through Kevin Porter? Is Şengün going to take this crazy leap if we play him 32 minutes a game? You know, the potential is endless there. I think they're starting to build a little bit of a happier environment with Coach Silas. Again, we just have to see how this stuff plays out. But that's all for me today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the Western Conference version of this video. If you haven't seen the Eastern Conference video, I strongly suggest you check it out. I hope you guys have been enjoying the content I've been uploading so far. I really been enjoying the comments and the positive feedback you guys have been showing down below. I really do appreciate your guys' support, and it does not go unnoticed. If you have any NBA takes, please leave them down below in the comments. You guys know I love to read them. If you guys are new or haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing and clicking that like button if you haven't already. Maybe even the bell next to my name. I would appreciate any of that. Peace.